Right, guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to build the Arsenal squad for next season that is going to bring the title home to North London, the red half of North London. Alex Moneypenny joins me, and we've got 2 picks per position. Right, let's do this. Let's start with the goalkeeper. 2 players in each position is what we're going to try and do here. And we've got a new signing early doors. So David Raya, first of all. It's interesting. I heard a couple of people talking, he needs... I think it's you, actually, saying he needs competition.
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
But I think this is great, Kepa, because I don't think he's competition. People are nervous about him broadly. Like, even if he has a great season with Bournemouth, you've gone and pinched another Chelsea player, which you do that quite well, don't you?
Every single year.
Yeah.
Sterling, Havertz,
Wow.
Jorginho, yeah.
But I like this signing just because I don't think David Raya needs any pressure on him.
No.
I actually think he's thrived once there was that initial kind of period where like Gary Neville was like at him, and then he proved him wrong, and that was the end of it and the end of Aaron Ramsdale, who I think is now going to Rangers actually. And so these seem to be the 2. There was Juan Garcia as another name, and in your video you talk about your different priorities. I thought you put the goalkeeping situation a bit higher than I expected, because I think you're sorted for the next 5 years.
We should be. I think sometimes, and you must find this, like sometimes talking about something doesn't equal how important you think it is. Like, you know, like I think we need to talk about the goalkeeping situation. I don't know where it is in the priority list. Maybe it is lower than I put it, but I look at the situation and maybe I'm overlaying my anxieties as a fan, which I think you can do. I just look at a couple of situations with Raya this season. Where can he get better? And again, it's the 1%ers. It's just a couple of passes where you just think, oh, come on, mate. Or he's playing these central passes, or he's like selling Saliba or Rice short and stuff like that. And my response is, I think he needs a bit of a come on, mate, because he's maybe been a little bit too comfortable. Is that valid? Is that me from the outside just guessing? I don't know.
Think he was my goalie of the season.
Yeah, no, and he was absolutely fantastic. And to be clear, this is the way bigger strides are to be taken elsewhere in the squad. But I also do think someone like a Kepa, at this price, by the way, 5 people haven't spoken about this.
Yeah,
the most expensive goalkeeper in the world, which I'm not saying is a marker of quality.
Is he one of the worst goalkeeping signings and one of
crazy?
He could be one of the greatest.
Yeah.
5 mil for him. It's amazing
5 million
change
for the, and also supposedly, I mean, there's various reports on his wages, but it's certainly not crazy as a total financial package. It's a really, really good move. I think you're right. It won't be properly challenging. I think it's like challenging and pushing without unsettling, and that's a really nice level for a goalkeeper. Like you want to be, I know you're here. You're going to push me, and you are going to be there if I need to drop out the team. But it's not Joan Garcia where I'm basically going, when's it happening?
Yeah, I think with goalkeepers, I don't think that's the smartest move to go right. You two fight it out. Yeah, because you're making it a precarious situation, which is what you don't want with your goalkeeper.
And by the way, what we did, and this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, in the sort of peak Arteta, oh my God, he's taking us to the moon. When we signed Raya, I was like, well, we're gonna have 2 number 1s, and they'll just like be friends and everything. Like, That's just not ever gonna happen. It's just never.
Not a midweek guy. And
literally. Guy. Maybe some games you have here, but away games you have Ramsdale. Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, but I think you do need to. Yeah, you do need a solid number 1, and I think this is the right signing for that.
Yeah, I agree, and I also think with what he's obviously at Real Madrid, he's played. He's got a bit of experience there, Kepa, but at the same time. And I think you're aiming to play 60 games a season, because that's probably another thing with Arsenal where you'd go, Thierry Henry said this. He said, where's the cup? Where's the final? Yeah. If you're looking to kind of do that as well, he's going to play in those games, so he'll still be happy. But if something were to happen to David Raya, injury-wise,
this is
that is a solid enough replacement, I think.
I think so. And this is probably unfair analysis, but Raya gave a ball away in the Carabao Cup semi-final against Newcastle. Neto was cup tied. We signed Neto cup tied for the Carabao Cup.
Oh God, yeah, that's
so. At least Kepa isn't cup tied.
Yeah. Do you know what I just thought here? Do you think it's close between him and Sanchez at Chelsea for me? Kepa.
What is the worst?
No, sorry, as in who's the better goalkeeper?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I don't think there's not a chasm between the two.
I think it's still got Jorgensen as well.
Yeah, they've got Petrovic. They've got about 6 of them.
Yeah. They're trying to sign Magnon.
But so in terms of the level of the goalkeeper that you're bringing in,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's your two.
That's a nice two, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice two. Right back. So the obvious two here, because I think what's weird about your defence is that there's a lot of. Do you know what I wanted to just say? The word hybridicity. It's not a word.
Wow.
It's not a word, but it was in there. And I'm honest with you guys, so smash that like button. Yeah, Timber and Ben White.
Yeah,
it's interesting that those as your two right back options, neither are your normal right back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, they're quite big, muscly, and chunky, and
I buy that.
Can both play centre back.
Yeah.
I buy is that. Does that concern you in any way? Just the idea of maybe having, proper out and out fullback.
I think,
especially when you see Liverpool with like Kirkes and Frimpong.
Yeah, I think one of the meta questions.
Oh, take me there.
Of this, one of the meta questions of this kind of thing is like, okay, how do you compete in this league with what the trends are, which I'll come to in a second, and how do you innovate? And one of the things is this is becoming a very running league. I think we're now the league with the most counter-attack goals in the entirety of Europe. That's changed last season. I think Athletic put out like most fast break shots or something, most fast break goals. Like I would have thought it was the Bundesliga or something. Yeah. It's the Premier League, the intensity of the league, the repeat sprints. We're all seeing this running data and we're all saying, wow. So I think then it's like, okay, so how do you keep up? Well, I think you need two players very positioned, so physically to be able to do that. But also, how do you innovate? Well, it looks like Man City and Liverpool are doing something with the fullbacks, and maybe I'm sure you'll be talking about that at some point. I think we need to do that on the left, which we'll come to. But on the right, if you can get Ben White fit, we really missed his runs from deep. If you go back, and people will laugh at me for this, like games like Bournemouth at home, 22-23, or various other games.
Of course.
Come on. Yeah. Watch Ben White's deep running. Physically, if we can get him back to that level, he's like wiry, he's got the stamina, he can do those repeat sprints. He offers something very, very different to Jurgen Timber. If you can keep them both fit, Ben White was out from like November to February, March time, and he still didn't quite look fit, and he looked a little bit not quite back in his normal shape. If you can keep that, so you have a Jurgen Timber who's a lockdown 1v1, can shut down Vinicius Jr., all that sort of stuff. If you can have him, and then you have a Ben White for certain other games as a pairing. I'm not sure you keep that for too long because probably one of them is going to get a little bit unhappy. I think it's a really good group. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, can you get full... Again, across this back line, I think there's... Well, you've been very... Have you been settled? You've not, have you? You've had loads of injuries this year. Yep. But it's funny, I kind of feel like it's a very settled back line, which I guess is testament to the players that you've got in there because I'm just not really concerned about them.
Yep.
Or maybe do you know what it is? Timber got injured,
yeah,
and then Ben White got injured, didn't they? So they sort of dovetailed a little bit.
Yeah.
Out of those two, who is your starter, or is that too black and white a question? Is that possible?
Right now, 70% of games Timber, probably the very best up against the Liverpools and the Man Cities, probably Timber. But Ben White will. One of our big issues again this season, coming back to ours, and not just blaming injuries, whatever. We can't change games. We literally, I think, in terms of like games, we lost I think we lost like 21 points from winning situations and stuff. And like, there's loads of numbers out there that you could look at. We couldn't change games, and one of them, people laugh at this because you're bringing on a defender to change a game. Yes, like Timber getting Bukayo Saka inside. If Ethan Nwaneri's out there and Saka isn't playing, then I think that puts Nwaneri in his better position. The stretch it does, the question mark for defenders, it's the timing of his runs. Is he the best lockdown 1v1 defender we have? No, but we have Jurgen Timber for that. So as I say, as a group, and also if we are moving to teams are packing the middle, everyone's getting more compact, everyone's running more, then where are the spaces? They're out wide.
Yeah.
If you're looking at them, who's thrived this year in the league? Morgan Rogers, Morgan Gibbs-White, everyone called Morgan. The spaces then are somewhere else, aren't they? So I think he's going to be part, like he would I be surprised if next summer I'm sat here saying, wow, what a season Ben White's had. Who saw that coming? Probably no, actually.
Yeah, I think that's like an undercover, not problem, but I think we're about to go to the left back position where there is a lot more attacking flair and a couple of different profiles knocking about as well. But if you want to, in a game, if it is that focus is down that left-hand side, if you want to change that.
Yes, yeah.
When I think of Ben White and Timber, I think of Eric Garcia against Inter Milan for Barcelona. where Yamal gets the ball and Garcia like makes an overlapping run, right? But Inter Milan, like he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
They are not bothered.
Yeah.
They couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because Yamal's got the ball.
Yeah.
If they give it to him, sweet.
Yeah.
We can deal with that
Yeah.
because it's kind of a centre back playing right back, right? That's what I feel like with these two a little bit. Where Saka's going to get the ball, he's probably going to want to come inside, and if another guy goes, okay, cool. And I think Ben White may be a little bit better attacking out of the two. Would you say?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think a lot better. But I think.
But no, none of them are full throttle. And if you want to change from
Yeah.
having that left side to going to that right hand side, which I don't think Arsenal have ever really, really done. That's why you've got two of these guys. So maybe it's a redundant point. But if you do, you don't really have that with these two in terms of being full throttle.
Yeah, I hear the comparison, but I think White it's about the timing of the run and knowing when to make it, and also I add in Martin Ødegaard. And if you look at that, if you look at that pod, it's often Saka lays it off to Ødegaard, who jumps inside, and Ødegaard makes the run.
Yeah.
So then it's Ødegaard who's got two runners,
right?
And that's really what we're looking at. I hear you on the two of them because you just stick with Saka, but
I just think it's about variance because I think what's in the minds of a lot of people, to your point earlier, is I think people are thinking about that 4-4-2 mid block, because you guys are the best in the world at it, and I think everyone went, that looks pretty secure.
Yeah,
let's kind of go with that. So now that's why I think Man City, Liverpool, and top of the tree if you look at PSG, those guys, the game breaker is Nuno Mendes or Hakimi.
Yeah.
And so I think this is when I go through the squad, there's little moments where if you're going to win it, I wince a touch.
I hear you.
Just because of have you got that outrageous attacking flair to sort of get yourself over the line? But I guess you're not going to concede many though.
No. I think on that point, maybe I could concede that Ben White isn't like a perfect solution on the right, but we have nothing on the left. So if we're signing something big, in terms of like that sort of proper overlapping fullback,
how much do you think you've got to spend?
Well, Kieran Maguire says we're the most profitable Premier League club in history.
That's nice.
So isn't that nice? Like Stan.
Even low.
But yeah,
it doesn't mean you use it. Yeah.
I don't know. It's very difficult to say. I also think we'll make some big sales as well, which we'll probably come to. So that might.
Okay. Make sure you do let me know. Centre backs. Look, guaranteed Saliba and Gabriel. Just a quick review on Gabriel. I don't think we need to. I think he's just gotten from strength to strength. I think he's been fantastic. Obviously, he would have been in teams of the year if he hadn't got injured near the end of it. Saliba, where are you at with Saliba? I feel like I think he's had a bad season.
Okay.
For him, because I think he's so. Do you know what it feels like when I'm thinking of him? I'm thinking Saliba. I'm thinking Van Dijk levels.
Yeah.
So when I'm thinking Van Dijk levels, in one of those fallow Van Dijk years, which is like better than most people, that's where I put Saliba this year.
Yeah, I wonder why, because I think he's been okay, like for his level.
Yeah. Sorry, maybe not bad, but he's not been as stellar.
I hear that. I think I'm trying to sort of because I actually see your point. So why do I see it? I think what it is, when everyone else falls over and Van Dijk's still in the team, you feel like he's dragging you feel like Van Dijk's dragging you to the line.
Yeah.
And I haven't yet felt that from Saliba. Is that a character thing? Is that a play style thing? I still think for me, he can be way more adventurous in his passing, way more adventurous. People, and you can go into it and you get all these guys. Yeah, but he sets the tempo of the game. Yeah. But Van Dijk's pinging them 75.
They always talk like that, don't they?
They always do. Wait, it's me. Van Dijk's pinging them 75 yards into someone's chest, and you don't.
But he's been told to do that, isn't he? I guess.
Yeah, and you don't have to.
You
don't have to play Hollywood passes. I'm not saying that, but I think Saliba can be also in his carries. He can set our stall out a little bit more. And I think when Gabriel fell over, the onus was like, oh God, Kivior's gonna. Well, hang on a minute, he's got Saliba next to him. Shouldn't we expect more from Saliba? That's the question.
Yeah.
Equally, he's 24. So
I was just gonna say.
So he needs that time, and to become the best in the world, I think sometimes you have to go and win stuff, but B, you have to be given time. So.
Yeah. I think that's it. I was literally looking at my notes here. I was like 24.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, Jim. Like, give him a break. But I guess it's the standards he set.
But that's how good he is. This is the thing. He's like,
Yeah, and I just think there were individual errors at times with him that it's one of those where, because you're used to him gracefully solving everything.
Right.
When he does make those errors, you go,
It's the Salah thing.
something's wrong
Salah
there.
scores 20 goals, but everyone goes, "Oh, rubbish season."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What?
yeah. There's always the sort of links with Real Madrid. Where are you at with that? Because I guess in terms of a derailment of this squad, in terms of get yourself over the line, a big loss like from one of your key men in your spine of your team would obviously be a massive problem. Do you think that could occur this summer, or because it does feel like the Real Madrid thing won't go away, and like Trent, we sort of saw it coming, kind of thing. Is the same? Is the Trent year that we've just had? Is that going to be the Saliba year next year? Do you think?
David Ornstein says we're in talks for a new contract. From what I hear, it sounds like it's going to be okay. I think we'll be all right for this contract. I think.
How long is this contract? Do you know?
He's got 2 years left. I think he'll sign another one.
Oh, okay.
I think the problem is he could stay at Arsenal, hopefully win stuff, and leave for Madrid at 26, 27. This is the thing. He's been so good for so long that I think it's okay. I get the sense that Saliba, you want to feel this about players, but I get the sense that he's not in any rush. He knows how good he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to go. Why leave Arsenal when you could become a legend? He said it himself. He did an interview where he talked about, if you don't win trophies, the club will forget you. And I don't think people will forget him. He's one of the best players of the Emirates era. But I don't think he's not in that sort of 28, 29, this is my last chance saloon. He's got another contract, I think.
Yeah.
I think he will go eventually, but I don't think it's anytime soon.
I guess it's one way, yeah. If he went at 27, you go, good luck to you. Yeah.
But also, this is the thing. Trent is, what, 26, 27?
26, yeah.
He's won 2 Premier Leagues, he's won Champions League, he's won big stuff at his boyhood club. The contract's running out, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to comment on it any further. Saliba hasn't done that yet. If it gets to that point, fair enough. But I think he wants to, for me, I think he'd want to do that and then move on.
Yeah, I also think regardless he'll go. Do you know what I mean?
He
Like,
will,
say you won 1 or 2, or you hadn't.
We
Either
could
way,
win
go.
5 and he'd go.
Yeah,
I think he'll go, but not yet.
It's interesting you talk about that. You've got to win things where people forget you. I was just thinking that I think I told this story the other day, but I was at the Sunderland game and this fan was like in bits, like before the game, during the game, like guttural sounds, tears throughout the game. I kept looking at my shoulder. He must be. I got in trouble when I did that. He must be a family member.
Yeah.
And at the end I took a picture of him. Yeah. And with his son.
With his consent?
With his son.
Yeah.
And then I went over, can I send you this photo? You've got to have this photo.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought he knew Luke 09.
Yeah.
And I went, how do you know, like, you're his dad, right? And he was like, no, he's like, I'm going to do it now. Like, no, man, I'm just a Sunderland fan. I didn't think I was going to get a ticket. Anyway, but the point is that not only do you, like, when someone comes to play for your club, they become family, but they'll be like a second cousin. Yeah. Because you don't really know them that well. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you can give them that moment, if you can give a title or something like that, they become like, they are family. Like, family. They might not be your best mate. Yeah. They are like Bobby Zamora, like, didn't have a great time with us. Like, I think 2 relegations, right? But he scored that goal. Yeah. And so all of a sudden you're like, that's forever, isn't it? Yeah. And so I think it would be such a shame for him to sort of to leave and to have not achieved anything when he's been so good.
I think so.
So good.
I think so. And on your family, on the family analogy, if your second cousin does something really cool, he's my brother. He's my brother. He's one of my closest family members. And then if he's not, it's always some distant cousin I never speak to.
I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly.
Kivior, 25. Because there's only 2 spots and they're going to go to Saliba and Gabriel. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Tomiyasu, who's only 26.
Do you remember when I came on the Ripple Effect about 18 months ago and said that Tomiyasu could go for £80 million? I'd like to issue a public apology for that horrific take.
I can now confirm he won't be going. Would you take that? Would you take 80?
I think I would. I think I would at this point. To be fair, that was because he was doing really well and Bayern was sniffing around for like 50 million or something. Anyway.
Well, I think if he'd continued to, like, over these last 18 months, from 24 to 26, and he'd played 40 games. Yeah. Then you had a player that sometimes he was going into midfield, wasn't he? He could play right back, he could play centre back.
Sevilla 23, streets will not forget, man.
Of course, yeah.
Sevilla away.
Looking forward to that comp on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is it sort of, with 2 players and what's great is the age of the squad.
Mm.
It's very, very good. Apart from the odd one that's a little bit older, who've got Jorginho's already gone. Kivior and Tomiyasu. What would you do with that pair?
Well, Kivior, I think, is a potential sale. Look, my line I keep using is, if Sepp van den Berg goes from Liverpool for £25 million to Brentford, having never played Premier League or Champions League, what's Kivior worth? And this is something that I want Arsenal to get better at, is holding out for that kind of valuation. It might well be a kind of, I don't want to give it a number, but a sort of very late August Napoli, AC Milan type bid. I would hold out for that. You don't find many.
You'd still want to. You're hoping to sell him though, aren't you? I think if I'm Arsenal, I'd go. If you're being really honest, I really like him, and I think he did brilliantly when he had to come in, and that's tough. But you've got to sell players when their stock is solid.
Yeah,
and I think his stock is solid, and if he's just not going to play.
It comes back to the price, I think, and also on Tomiyasu. My sort of compromise at the minute with Tomiyasu is, okay, what would I do as me, the soft Arsenal fan from Bournemouth? What would I do? I'd keep Tomiyasu around. I think we've spoken about this sort of stuff, isn't it? What would I do? The thing about Ange, the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Tomiyasu. He's a nice guy, that sort of stuff. But realistically, my thing at the minute with Arsenal is like, okay, where are we going? What we're trying to do? Are we trying to be probably in that second level of clubs? We're not Madrid, Barca, but we're not there.
Yeah.
We're not there. We can't say we are.
No, of course not.
So are we trying to get there, or are we not? What do those clubs, who, by the way, we're trying to beat in the semi-finals of the Champions League, those clubs we're trying to get past, what are they doing with Tomiyasu? We all know what they're doing with Tomiyasu. So my compromise is a prospect right back, right centre back, or someone else, someone who's a bit younger, who there's definitely upside on, maybe even a loan. But realistically, like the links to Dean Huijsen, I think the club are showing you what they're trying to do.
Because the other thing I would say about both of those, because you obviously need a squad, but if Saliba or Gabriel get injured and forget about any other position, who's the next best centre-back? Two centre-backs.
Left centre-back, Calafiori.
Right. And then who's the one after that? My point is, you got Ben White, Calafiori, and Timber. All just chilling. If they were available, and you can piece it together. Obviously, you don't want to completely piece it together, but you've got those hybrid guys. Like, use them.
Yeah, I think a big Kivior sale I would love, plus a kind of prospect. We were looking at a Vitor Rice guy who went to City, something like that. I would have loved. But
next gen.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got our two left back. This is interesting. Miles Lewis-Skelly, done all right, hasn't he?
He's done all right.
He did okay. Do you know, I was thinking about him. I don't think we've seen someone come in like this at this age. And football's different now to what it was. But I'm trying to think. I'm sure people are going to give me so many different names. Feel free to do so in the comments on Spotify. But the name that sort of screamed at me, since Wayne Rooney. Like, if you think of Wayne Rooney, came in and then was just brilliant.
Yep.
Like, he went from Everton to Man United at 18, scored a hat-trick in his debut against Fenerbahce, and then just never stopped playing or scoring. And like, can this continue with him? I think there's questions in terms of how he will evolve and how football will evolve and his place within that. Which I said a while back, I was like, can we just be careful with this lad? Because like Rico Lewis, who's I still think is a really, really good player, but will only suit certain teams playing certain ways and being in certain positions. I think Miles Lewis-Skelly's physically, obviously, far more impressive, so that will help, right? But to come in and be that good is incredible in an area of the pitch where you need to be smart and good on the ball, switched on defensively, one-on-ones, and can you go and score us a couple of goals as well? It's incredible.
Been dribbled past once.
That's crazy, man.
Once. And the thing is, you say Wayne Rooney, and the comments may come for you, but
it's a different position. I'm not saying better. I'm just saying I don't think I'm trying to think of other players in high-profile games stepping in like that.
You have to. People will hear that name or whatever. Okay, let's just break it down. Who at 18, just give me a name, has come in, immediately put themselves in the Premier League, and has not been taken out of the team, has come from an academy, gone in the Champions League, put in the performances. Well, yeah, maybe Trent, but we're talking about those names is what we're saying. So we can't put him in. Remember Saka being compared to Brandon Williams at one point. we can't put him in those conversations
Saka's another one.
at the very top level. Yeah, but there's going to be names, but my point is it's the top level names. And I think you said it can't carry on like this, and I'm resisting doing the Mick McCarthy meme, but it can. And he's so good. He is like it's fascinating to know what to do with him, because I'm going to talk about. Look, okay. I think Arsenal probably do need a left back, which people are going to go, oh my God,
Why?
every year.
All right.
Because if we're selling Kivior, Tierney's going, Zinchenko's potentially off, like we probably do need something in that position. And we also, if we're looking again back to the conversations about competing versus innovation, I think we need legs in the midfield, which we'll come to. But in terms of that overlapping run on the left, especially if we're signing Rodrigo, we really need that. I don't think that's Calafiori or Miles. But then you're asking, okay, but where does Miles go? Like you've just found this guy. You're just going to take him out of the team because you want one run, basically. Like that's not necessarily fair. So it may well come back to that. Look, I think this is once in a generation type stuff. It really is, and I'm just grateful, I guess, that he plays for my club. Really is the feeling.
Yeah, I mean, because that's it again. I think there'll be bumps in the road. Inevitably, there is. People were saying the same thing about Cole Palmer, and we still know Cole Palmer's great, but there are bumps.
Yep. Next season will probably. I don't want to predict this, but there will be. I know there'll be Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, Miles isn't quite at the level." He'll do one thing, and everyone will go, "Oh,
yeah." Or do you know? Or he'll get a bit tired or a bit jaded, or because he's playing every game and it's a new pressure and there's so much more noise around him. There's a lot of things that he's going to have to deal with. And I'm acutely aware now that Trent came in and did a similar kind of thing and kept it going. Slightly different players, I guess. Obviously, both playing in that fullback position.
But it's that echelon of names is the point. It's not just some other academy grad that he's.
Do you want to touch on that? Trent came in and he had been midfielder previously. Then plays right back, and then obviously the debate has continued to ensue. With Miles Lewis-Skelly, is it one where that's working? Don't spoil it, or are you trying to move? Is there too much talent there that you don't want to kind of that you see him as more of a midfielder?
Sorry to do my usual answer. It depends on the game. I do think it depends on the game, unfortunately. I think if you think you're going to get some change out of a jumpy press where he can evade them centrally, then great. If you think you're going to get some change out of that underlap, then great. You'll put him on the left. If you think you're going to get a little bit of change from having lots of central touches and Miles maybe being in the left half space, maybe you put him in the left 8 and stick Declan further back. It just depends on the game.
Yeah,
I think he'll start the season at left back, but I wouldn't be surprised if more and more you see him coming in. I don't think this is a Trent situation where there's that perennial put him in midfield, because I honestly actually think there's another level for him the more he gets involved. That's my prediction for Miles.
So my view on it is I like him there. I think keep him there. I think you might lose a bit of what's made him great this year. And again, to stick with the Trent thing, Trent's thing is his passing. So you kind of, there was that battle of like, where can we get him on the ball the most, where he can be as effective.
It's passing with time as well. Yeah. And you're not going to get that in a block.
And long range passing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And with Miles, like I hate this phrase, but his superpower, if you want to call it that, is dealing with contact, riding contact. Right. Where do you want that? You want it centrally where it's going to affect the game. Yeah,
interesting. I do think with Zubimendi coming in, I think there's something there for sure where he
rejecting Real Madrid.
I feel like he peels off to that left to come and get the ball, and then if you think of Nuno Mendes with Vitinha, it's the same. I see it as the same thing. Yeah. But you've actually got Nuno Mendes when he's in that half space. You kind of feel like he's nearly being wasted a little bit there. Whereas Miles Lewis-Skelly, if he then ends up moving up there into that aggressive 8, whatever you want to call it, in that half space there. That just fits for me. Yep. But you still get to have him be that left back and drive with it when you want him to, but also you get him in that other position where Zubimendi's going to offer so much help to this team. Yep. I think he's such a game changer for you guys. Calafiori, 18 and 23, these two, by the way. Calafiori, he's been a bit of a disappointment, hasn't he? I mean, part of that's down to injuries and some child rocking up. Miles Lewis-Skelly.
Doesn't help.
Yeah.
Oh, generational academy talents come in my position.
Yeah, who are you? Well, we now know. Is there any desire to... I think the problem you've got with him is you can't really cash in on him because He's not played enough. So you're not like his stock is low. His stock is not solid right now.
Yeah. He's a tricky one, actually, Calafiori. 5.5 months out injured. I think there's still some question marks I have about when he's wide, judging those distances, like just getting a little bit caught, jumping in too early, not dropping back too soon or whatever.
Yeah, he's quite. Do you know what? He was there was a game against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
I think he drew 0-0.
He was looking really good.
Yeah, he was like it was a problem, actually,
Yeah.
the fact that your most cavalier attacking threat was the left back.
Yeah.
There was something wrong in that.
Yeah.
But as a different spice in in your rack, he's thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how we got here.
What are the ripple effects of James Allcott?
You don't want to throw that away, do you? With him, I think some people might be turning on him a little bit. The problem is how do you fit him in? I can imagine him like crushing mid-table teams for you.
I think so. What's your England thing? Oh, he'll play. You got one of those. What's your category? He'll play. He'll play. I think he'll play. I just don't know. I don't quite know how and where right now. I think going back to the fullback thing again, it depends how you look at Mendes and Hakimi. And I'm not comparing him quality wise, but I think one of the many reasons they're so effective is the running, and because they're popping in and out, they're not standing in the spaces. It's not clear where to mark them. Obviously, I think Calafiori can benefit from that. I honestly do think his long-term future and his best qualities come centrally. That's where he's a better defender, in my opinion, and being that stepping forward. Do you remember when Sheffield?
Sorry, as a centre back.
As a centre back,
right?
And he's not going to be there right now because of Gabriel. Do you remember when Sheffield United played with like the crazy centre backs?
Yeah.
And I remember being there like, this is the next thing in football, guys.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see him.
Right.
Like from central, carrying the stuff I want Saliba to do a little bit more.
So me and Flav had a joke about that.
Oh, really?
Where it was, again, another bad accent coming up. Where we were like, you can imagine Chris Wilder kind of in training going, Chris Wilder's going, go through middle.
Come on.
And Chris Basham's going, there's no space through middle. We'll go around side then. And that
was a good accent.
Thank you.
That was very good.
Spent some time in Sheffield, Sheffield Allen, boing. I remember that. So what you think? But that was in a 3 though.
Yeah. I don't honestly with Calafiori right now. I don't know. What I see is a talent and a stallion, if you want to call it that. Probably because he's Italian.
He is a stallion.
He's a bit of a stallion in the way he runs. I don't know where he plays. It's going to be dependent on Miles' future, what we do at fullback. Again, the fullback situation, I look at that and I go, I don't know how we're going to get that overlapping run. But honestly, it might come from a winger. It might come from, I don't know, Mikel Marino was a question mark for a while. You can also ask players to do things that they don't want to do. This is my frustration.
Miles Skelly can do that though.
He can do it. It's just the pace of it and the sort of the repeatability.
Are you actually fearful of it?
And the stamina and the Eric Garcia question, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, I just... It's tricky because Mikel, like for example, when Thomas Partey's played right back, he just doesn't do it. He just doesn't run. And my frustration is like, no, I get he's not great at it. I get that.
Yeah.
He can still do it.
Yeah, Gary Neville did.
Yeah.
Built a career out of it.
He can still run.
Yeah, he still make the run. Yeah.
So I don't know if Mikel would ask him to do it. Is a big
So
question.
you at the start of this, you were saying that maybe you need another left back. Who would that be?
There's a guy at Club Brugge, I think is how you say it, called Maxime de Kuiper, who, in terms of the sort of the whip and the creative passing and the stuff that the threat from wide, I really, really like. Like sort of pace and stamina wise, I have a bit of a question about the translation really more than anything. He looks great in the Belgian league. But yeah, that's someone I'm looking at. There's other names. There's a guy called Diego Moreira who my friend talks about. To be honest, I haven't watched him, but that's a name that I've heard. But yeah, that De Kuiper I've looked at because he looks like a sort of left-sided Ben White.
Okay.
Which feels like more of a Mikel thing. Mikel's not going to sign, the Tariq Lamptey on the left. Basically, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
So,
and again to that Arteta point, because you were talking about with Calafiori, would he do a 3?
Maybe.
You think he would? Yeah,
maybe
he'd be willing.
With Zubamendi as a pivot or something. I don't know. Would he? Or certainly,
I don't get the feeling that he's a very someone who experiments much.
Well, you say that, but I think the thing with Mikel is he doesn't change mid-season. And this is actually a frustration I have with him, is mid-season, Mikel rarely does something you go, like the only thing I can really think of, I'm sure people will go, actually, what about this one? But rarely, is when he put Smith Rowe in sort of Christmas time 2020-ish.
Right.
That was a real system change. I can't really.
That might just be Christmas, mightn't it? You got so many games. People
it was desperate,
rock up, don't they?
It was desperate. Do you know what I mean? And so he did. But between seasons, I could talk you through. Like he does evolve. But yeah, it's the in-season, in-game changes that I think we need to see more of. So I don't know. I mean, again, a 3, in effect, is that on paper? Is that in possession? I could see moving to a 3 potentially with a single pivot and Calafiori jumping forward. I don't know.
But yeah, again, I think that's where the problem with the right back maybe rocks up a little bit because you're going to have 3 and Gabriel.
Someone drops out.
Yeah, and also Gabriel's done so well there.
Yeah. In
terms of dealing with anything that goes down those channels, and why would you bother?
Yeah.
Right, midfield. Defensive midfield, Thomas Partey, who... It's interesting, isn't it? As soon as you watch... Well, for me, anyway. As soon as you watch more of Zubimendi, and I watched a bit of him last summer, and then he's a bit of me, man. I love him. Yeah. And it makes Thomas Partey look awful in my head. Because the way that Zubimendi gets on the ball and everyone just fucks off, it's because there's utter trust in him. I watched the France game, and there's a moment where he's sort of running. They're kind of under pressure a little bit. Everyone else is gone. It's just the defenders and him, and he's surrounded, and they don't play it to him.
Yep.
They play it out, and he's like annoyed, and I'm like, wow. Yep. Like the fact that he's just willing to have it anywhere and then play it forward anywhere.
Yeah.
He honestly. He could be... It'll be one where, if you win the league next year, he'll be the one where people are screaming. Say this year, Alexis McAllister. Everyone's going, I know you're all talking about these guys. Alexis McAllister. It will be him.
I agree. One of our big issues, and one of many big issues, and I've identified a few at least, is our tempo.
Yeah.
Changing games and changing how quickly we attack. And one of the... and look, Thomas Partey has been excellent for Arsenal at times. His contract's coming to an end. He's 32, I think, now. It's just time for him to move on. My big thing with Partey is okay, say you are the biggest Partey fan. I'm not, but say you are.
You like to Partey.
I like to Thomas Partey. How do you justify falling asleep at the back post against Atalanta, giving away the penalty against... giving away the penalty against Atalanta, falling asleep at the back post against Aston Villa, not closing down Pedro Neto against Chelsea? How do you justify... there's so many things that I could just be like, it's just individual error after individual error. And I get there's some people who say, but he's brilliant. And when he's on his day, he is top. Zubimendi, I promise you guys, when you see the difference, when you swap out and you see, we don't have to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time. When we're in the final third, we can pick up the pace a little bit sometimes, and you can play that first time pass over the top, or you can drift into... You don't have to constantly drop in behind the first line. You can sort of ghost in and play a first-time ball and a little quick combination. New levels of this Arsenal team will appear without Thomas Partey.
Yeah, or at the very least, I think it will reveal just how good the guys in front of him are.
Yeah,
I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get to Martin Odegaard, but Martin Odegaard just coming back and getting it, coming back. No, because I'm here now.
Yeah.
Go over there.
And I set this up.
And I'm going to get the ball to you, which all sounds so simple, but it seems so difficult for a lot of people these days, it seems. But see what the better players the players that you should be able to unlock it and just get it to him. That is what this lad does instead of playing it safe. And I think it will massively reveal Martin Odegaard. In terms of those two, and just to fill in that squad, is that your two? So you're saying Thomas Partey goes. Who's the sort of understudy to Zubimendi if he were to be injured, or is it one about using the collective?
Just quickly to sort of put more meat on that Partey bone, Partey sits in, and people, I'm sorry, people can't, maybe feel I'm going too harsh on him. The one reliable, consistent ball he has is that out ball to Saka every time, and he's great at that. I don't want to take that away from him. And, he can fire the ball through the lines. Zubimendi completely shit. Also, the left-hand side of the pitch opens up because you have a Zubimendi. So, it's just, for me, it's just time to move on for many different reasons. And I think for me, again, coming back to the sort of the thing I said earlier about how do you stay competitive in the league and how do you innovate? This is one of the competitive things. This league is becoming more and more about running and repeat sprinting and whatever. And I don't want to go into a season with Declan Rice, who is unbelievable at that. So tick. Mikel Merino, Martin Zubimendi, and probably Partey goes. That's not enough legs, in my opinion. It's just not enough legs. How you solve that, I don't quite know. That we're supposedly looking at Lucien Agume of Sevilla, who I think I like, but he's a little bit limited going forward. But I'd be up for it. He's probably a natural Partey replacement. He's got more legs. I look at the situation at Villa, who are 96% of their revenue goes on their wages or something. And I look at someone like an Onana, or it's a bit further forward, but a Rodgers, or someone, a Kamara, or someone in that midfield. You go, can you come in and just be an immediate hit and a fire? We need more legs in that midfield. I don't know who it is. If you want to go properly top of the range, Carlos Baleba at Brighton, I'd go, please, goodness. But that would be a massive sale, and that would be a really crazy deal to do. But I ask Arsenal fans, put it this way: if you watch a league with more repeat sprints, spaces opening up, teams like Villa running through you, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, if you're watching that happen and you're comfortable going to next season with, in my version, Zubimendi, Rice, and Marino at the base of your midfield. Ooh.
So talk to me about Declan Rice at the base of a midfield then. Is that just a utter no for you?
It's not an utter no. I think the 6-8 thing is really interesting.
What are his problems there for you?
At 6, the stuff that Zubimendi that we're talking about, like Rice, I think he can drop in and set the tempo, if you want to call it that. I think he can carry, but I don't know whether a Declan Rice is sort of the guy, the metronome in the midfield who can just pass, take it off, take it any angle, receive any angle. For me, when I look at Declan Rice, I see one of the best athletes in the Premier League. That's what I look at. So I don't know why you'd put one of the best athletes in the Premier League so deep on your pitch. I want him, and I get it from Mikel. I think there's limitations there. But counter-pressing up, stepping up, running into the box, repeat sprints, all that stuff, covering big spaces, also being the person who can recover very, very quickly to get back and support someone behind him. Yeah. That's where and also getting goals and assists. I mean, his technique in terms of shot taking is one of the best in the squad.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So we saw it with the goals, right? So yeah, I get the Rice thing. To be honest, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have said I don't know why he's not playing 6. But the more he plays 8, I go, okay, I do get it.
Yeah, it's again back to that revealing thing. I think when you have Zubimendi, you're never gonna have like Roy of the Rovers, Declan Rice, which is a very enjoyable version of Declan Rice, because of kind of how Arteta plays. But when you've got someone that good like Zubimendi, that sort of shuttling once you've got the ball, of like come and help me out, like, and get it moving, and then go make that run. Unless Arteta, I think Arteta needs different strings to his team's bow, right? So transitions is one that we'll get to as well later on, because I think there's moments where it's like go, break, and you don't always need to be kind of slow with it. You want to be able to sort of kill in an array of ways. But in terms of it being revealing for me, if I think Zubimendi, and then I think in front of you, you've got maybe Miles Lewis-Skelly's gone for a run. You've got Declan Rice knocking about in there, and you've got Martin Odegaard in there, and they have to stay in there. That is an interesting thing for me, because I'm like, are those, you're trying to win the league, are those 3 players players you want there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Rice is a lot more about I think he can and will continue to contribute going forward, but I think it's a lot about the rest defence. It's a lot of whether I like this or not, Mikel is so about staying in the final third. Yeah. And having Rice higher really helps us do that. Yeah. Like, you look at
you're right. Those defensive runs when you do lose the ball,
he's over the shoulder straight away.
Yeah, to have Zubimendi, who can actually quicker than people think and smart with it, and you've got like Gabriel and Saliba, so that's great. And then you've got someone like Declan Rice who can catch players up. That's an interesting point that people don't think about. Next time you watch Liverpool, for example, certainly this year, I'd always notice it was that when they've got often when you get the ball, you think anyone behind you, I don't need to worry about them anymore. With Liverpool, you'd have Luis Diaz or Szoboszlai or whoever it would be, like catching you up. Yeah. Declan Rice is wonderful for that.
It's a massive coaching thing. Whenever I speak to any coach, so we don't think about it because we're thinking about the attacking patterns, but they're also thinking about where do I need to stand in case we lose it.
Yeah. So your 2 DMs?
Let's dream. Carlos Baleba
and Zubimendi.
And Zubimendi. If it's more of a low cost thing, I think Agume would make sense.
It's going to be interesting in Villa, isn't it? Like, they're going to have to make that decision where so right side centre midfield. Martin Odegaard, Fabio Vieira. Remember him?
I do.
Only 25. Again, the squad building's been very, very strong. A bit of an enigma, Vieira. So 39 appearances for Porto on loan this year.
Yeah.
5 goals, 5 assists, 2,500 minutes pretty much. Played right wing, centre midfield, attacking midfield, left wing, which could tell a couple of stories maybe.
Yeah.
Can he not, close down, zone in on a position?
Yeah.
Or is he just, great in loads of different areas? I don't know. But those seem to be the kind of the two there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Vieira quickly? Because I think there's probably not as much to talk about with him.
Well,
would you stick with him, or is he another one? Oh, we can get some money here. He's only 25.
For that right centre mid slot, I'm looking at Odegaard and Waneri. I think you've got Waneri on the right wing, haven't you? But I think for me that's
we can bring another lad in.
Yeah, I think Waneri's best qualities are closer to goal.
Yeah, fair.
Look, Vieira, I go back and forth.
Should be brilliant, shouldn't he?
Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad buy either.
It's not a bad buy because actually, if you, and people are going to hate this, but if you look at the underlying numbers, like he's genuinely,
Stop doing the voice.
he is genuinely right up there in terms of the expected threat and expected assist and all this sorts of things. He really does trend really, really high, and also his passing is fantastic. So I go back and forth with my co-host on a podcast I have about this all the time. And
what's the name of the podcast?
The Cannon Podcast, if you're an Arsenal fan. And George is the guy, and he really believes in him and really believes in it. And he's like showing me clips from Portugal. He's going, but look at this. And I'm like, yeah, we also saw this in 2022. Right. We saw the same stuff. It's always translation. And a player can have all of the skills in the world and all the talent in the world we can talk about. But if we did this, and if we platform him, and if we put that guy there, and if we did, okay, yeah, sure. You could theoretically, we'll come to this with Martinelli as well. You can theoretically platform anyone. Yeah. You can theoretically platform me if you gave me running and ability and whatever. But Vieira ultimately, I think the only thing I'd say for Vieira is he hasn't had something like more than 2 starts in a row. So that's something I'll say to him. I want to see him given a chance in pre-season, but you have to grab your opportunity with both hands. No one's going to give it to you. And I feel like sometimes for me, this is maybe unfair because I don't know him. I just don't feel that fire in him as a player.
Yeah.
I see a brilliantly talented player, brilliant technique, obviously great final ball, all that sort of stuff. Does he have the fire to play for Arsenal, win the Premier League? Don't.
Yeah, I think when you compare it to Odegaard, like both similar kind of frames, I guess, but like there's such stamina to Martin Odegaard, which kind of makes Vieira feel a bit frail. Yeah. Weirdly. Yeah. But maybe I haven't seen him at Porto much, so maybe there has been that development there. 25 is a good age for you to kind of go, right, I know who I am, what I am now. Because, there is such pedigree with him. You're expecting something there. So sell?
Vieira, I would say start the season with him, but let's see.
Okay.
Let's see.
Sort of right at the end of the window?
Yeah, kind of.
West Ham?
Yeah.
They'll take him.
I
always say West Ham.
Yeah.
And then Martin Odegaard.
Go on.
I just think he will be... I don't mean this is a bad way or a good way. I don't know what the answer is. He will be revealed as to what he really is this year, which is it's an amazing sort of fall from when he came back. I remember the game. He'd had some injuries or Declan Rice was out or something, and he was just so without the ball. He is such a dream of a player, and I think I would totally understand why Arteta would adore him because he wants to do the right things. I just think on the ball, he's just really, really struggled. Now, is he knackered? Maybe. And is he emotionally is he mentally knackered? Maybe as well. So I think it's good for him to have a bloody break. Yeah. But there is pressure on him going into this season, isn't there? Which feels wild, doesn't it? After the few years.
Yeah. 2 Player of the Season awards at Arsenal.
Really crazy.
In a row. It's interesting the players will go to bat for and kind of do that sort of more personal, not excuses, or look for sort of the amount of Arsenal videos that I've posted. People have gone, Odegaard's had a baby though, guys. So and you're like, but we won't say this about other players. So there is that connection, and he has credit in the bank.
So I think everyone's desperate for him to do well.
Exactly, and he has credit in the bank. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, that's stupid. Yeah. I get it. He has a lot of credit at Arsenal
because you cannot say he's not trying.
He's trying.
I think he's trying too hard. I think he's overthinking, and I think the way that's one thing where he's taken way too many touches. good grief. We've got a video coming out this week where it's like, ugh, stop it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've lost him a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's maybe, and trust me, like, you know, when you have a kid, like, there is something in that of like, I'm not really sleeping here. And so you're a bit more like emotional, a bit more fragile, like all these different things.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Get a nanny.
But yeah, exactly. Figure it out.
Okay. Because I want to be fair. On the for him column, he did have the injury. And I do think there's residual stuff in the injury. Would I be surprised if I heard he's had surgery in the off season? No. I think the kid stuff is a big thing. Players are allowed off seasons. That's okay. Saka and Ben White have been out, which is his big thing. And I think Odegaard needs those players around him to look really good. So there's lots there. But you are also the captain of Arsenal Football Club who's shown us levels, so we have to do something. I think the touches is a problem. When he's in central spaces, he's so easily knocked off the ball. And if I'm giving you a lot of my central touches and someone can just come in and go, then it doesn't matter. And
if he's not got the belief there either to figure it out, because that's it with this, is I would imagine Arteta, if you're bringing in Zubimendi, you're going to Odegaard, stay there.
So yeah. This is the thing. So yeah, there's I think the speed of thought is an issue. His off the ball work and his application has never been a problem. That's not an issue, but he's not giving us enough on the ball. The question next is Zubimendi. Where Martin Odegaard runs games and has looked his best is when he, as you mentioned earlier, he's dropped in a little bit. He's maybe got us out in the build up. He's maybe played a final pass to Saka, wherever it might be. Zubimendi's in there now. He's going to do a lot more of that tempo setting. He's not going to need to be there. The question is, can Martin Odegaard adapt? And my thing is, if he's in the current role, if you basically swap out Partey for Zubimendi and keep Odegaard doing the same stuff, it's a redundancy. Yep. It's kind of stupid.
Agreed.
If Odegaard can be freer, specifically floating a little bit more to the left, maybe dropping out a little bit more, but not dropping out the block, dropping out to the sides a little bit more and playing balls in from half spaces, whatever it might be, I can see a creative intelligence coming back to his game, as well as the physical sort of embodiment not being right in those spaces. There could be an explosion for Odegaard. But as you said, it's weird, but it is kind of a make or break campaign.
That is
it's
odd,
weird.
Isn't it? Do you know what I would say, which could be great for him? I think there's something to be said about getting the ball quickly.
Yep.
And I think with Zubimendi, he will see those passes quickly.
Yep.
And I think Odegaard is I don't think anyone's doubting his intelligence.
No.
So I think he will get into the right spaces quickly too. Yep. And so that might be the split second that he needs to be able to get away from that guy.
Exactly.
As opposed to one not feeling great in that space. Yeah. But if you're getting it half a second earlier, then you can get away from that defender before they get to you. And so you will stay in that half space that you need him to thrive there. And I think that's where Arsenal have been kind of struggling a little bit. Like I could see the tactical setup where you have Zubimendi and you've kind of got those three in those half spaces there. And that's that's going to give you a lot more going through the middle of the pitch. It's just those three personnel. Can they be the difference? That's the thing you want to kind of see. And that's coming back to the whole theme. I think how people feel about Arsenal is like Arteta has taken this team so far and through a lot of like diligent people and then smart, intelligent coaching from him. He actually needs them to do it for him a little bit, I think now. With that a bit of, but the problem might be, have you got three diligent soldiers there that actually you actually need do you need a bit more of a maverick in there, and can that exist in this Arsenal ecosystem? I don't know.
And then people look at the bench and they see Ethan Waneri, who's the only player to overperform his XG this season, and the quickest shot taker, I would say, in terms of the backlift.
Could there be a swap there, you think?
Well, what I'm saying is people see that and they see all the problems of the team and they look at one area and they go, well, look at this.
Yeah.
And I get it. I get it. I think the big question is, can Odegaard adapt? I will say at the end of last season, he had a decent run right towards the end because it was sort of post PSG and stuff.
The pressure had calmed down a bit,
But he did. And also I think he's, one of the big things people have noticed is he can't lock his ankle anymore when he shoots, and he's seemed to have, he certainly had a number of shots we went, oh,
something's going on.
That's new. There's something going on.
Yeah. Left side of centre midfield, Declan Rice. Which two do we have then? So we had Ethan and Martin on the right side. Yeah, cool. That's strong. Left sided centre midfield, Declan Rice and Marino. We kind of touched on Declan Rice a solid amount. So steady for you guys. Oh, so steady. Always available. 4,000 minutes. Crazy.
Yeah.
I think I think his goals could go through the roof next year.
Yeah. Got to watch those minutes though. Gabriel, Saliba, and Rice. They're all in like the top. Might be top 10. I think it's top 15 of the most minutes played in the Premier League in the last 3 seasons. All 3 of them.
Is that just him though? Because
Yeah.
he was like that with West Ham.
Yeah, and the problem is like, Bruno Fernandes. Should he been able to play 25,000 minutes since he arrived? No, but he has. So I don't know. Maybe he's fine. But I
People
just
talk about that, like, the rhythm of it all, like just playing week in, week out. I do always, there's just always a weird little question mark around Declan Rice, isn't there? I think he's one of those ones where I think in the big games, it's so great to have him knocking about.
Yeah.
Because they offer, you are concerned about the opposition as much as yourself. I just wonder if you're trying to like really tip the attacking intent in your favour against teams that you just need to break down. That's where, yes, he's great and he's useful and he's all those things, but is he that in like, is he that electric individual 10 that you can't like? I keep thinking about Brahim Diaz, like that kind of player. But you've got 2 similar players in Marino and Rice, haven't you?
Yeah, and they're more kind of runners. I mean, the thing
in terms of the goal threat, sorry.
No. Oh yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. I think that the thing, there is a technical aesthetic bias with Rice. I think like there's a sense of like, because he didn't take it on the half turn. So when you watch, I'm not comparing the players. Third time. When you watch Pedri, you immediately go, oh, yeah, wow, because he's taken the ball and he's
wheelchair legs.
He's got the hips and whatever, and I get that. But people then, and I'm going on Saturday Social, and you can make arguments for both players. I think Pedri's probably had the better season, whatever, right? But it's like, how can you even possibly compare the players? I'm like, okay, fair enough. You might think Pedri's better. That's up to you. But how much of this is when you watch a player, they just look like they're good at football? A lot of what Rice does is effective work. It's really effective work. He gets through so much running, the accuracy of his passing, like the amount of attacks he shuts down. Like he's doing a very different job. Yeah. And I think sometimes people go, oh, he's playing as an 8, so I want to see him take the ball in the half turn, create a bit of separation, and have a whip shot. Is that what he's going to do?
No, well, that's what I mean, though. It kind of you're having 2 conversations at the same time where it's. You want him in a 2, don't you? You want to play this old school 4-4-2. We go on deck, get her out, and then if imagine him and him and Gerrard back in the day, like for England, that would have been perfect, wouldn't it? But yeah, so you're just trying to, in the way that football is now, where it's sort of, especially Arsenal, it's squish, 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 squish.
Exactly.
It's a weird team to have Declan Rice in sometimes.
Yeah,
but again, maybe that is an aesthetic thing. But obviously, he's great. We know that. Marino, do you think people would want him out if he hadn't have filled in up top and scored a few?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. That's really helped him. I mean, he's a very intelligent player. And this has all come from far smarter people than me that I talk to. The issue with Marino, I looked at his dual number.
Great title. That's yours.
You're welcome. The issue with Marino, I looked at him last summer and I looked at the dual numbers. I remember the Squawker dual graphic that I saw. Total duels in Europe, Mikel Marino number 1. You go, fantastic. Right. Here we go, right?
Hang on, percentage or?
Just the amount of duels won. Right. Top in Europe, right? Okay. Or like unbelievable. What does he do after it? When you win that first contact, when you've done that, what do you do next? And I think Marino is a great player, good squad player, whatever. His issue, though, is that next action, the second ball. Okay. He can't quite manipulate his body to get to the second ball. I don't think he always judges the flight of the ball particularly well. He can get spun in that moment. So he wins the first contact, fantastic, no problem. Best in Europe, arguably, or was. It's the next moment. That's my big question. It's covering big spaces. I think he had an issue with our press for a while where he couldn't quite
he looked
know
off
when
it, didn't
to
he?
Run and all those sorts of things. He's got better at that. But yeah, I think that's, for me, someone said it to me and I was like, that's it. That's it.
Right. Do you think, is he one where, we've spoken about Kivior, we've spoken about different, Vieira. He's not, ideally, everyone fit, he's not a starter, is he?
No. And you need a squad.
Yeah. But do you like him as a second choice?
I do. Yeah, I think if Declan Rice is playing 4,000 minutes and he's behind him, I think we should be all right.
I just want one more.
This is my
10
point
for you.
Well, I think one area is closer than we think, but I also think,
but as well as him.
Yeah,
I want another one.
Interesting.
I don't think.
But
I've got no problem with him being around.
Yeah,
and I guess like Trossard, you could maybe chuck into that as well.
Saka.
What would you want him in there?
Wow.
I don't know. And maybe it's good to have, if you've got Declan Rice, a guy who can like arrive late, arrive smart, and score goals, and Marino can do the same thing, and he's playing for Spain. Like, he's obviously not a bad player.
I know what you mean. So I think there's kind of two schools of thought, and maybe this is we're coming onto the forward areas. There's people are watching Arsenal, and everyone's going, okay, well, they definitely need. Everyone agrees we need signings, and then it's like, okay, what's the thing? And we I think we're like 8th in the XG table or something this season. We need more creativity, and so I completely understand that someone would watch Arsenal and say, "What about Eze? What about why aren't you in for Verts or whatever it might be?" And I completely get that, and I don't necessarily think it's a wrong thing. My take is this. Our tempo is off. Is that an individual issue, or is that and maybe it's solved with Zubimendi, but it's a team thing? We don't have enough pace in terms of runners. I was at the Newcastle game. The staticness of us in the final third was unbelievable, and that's not going to change with one person who's probably on the ball. The running lines of our wingers, I think, is an issue. Martinelli gets himself caught in corners. Saka gets himself in pockets and stuff. There's not enough space around him. So I'm looking at, and we can carry on, but I look at the creativity issue, putting the ball at risk, taking more shots. Our shot volume is just so low.
Yeah.
Those, for me, the issues with Arsenal as a creative force are team issues. So I don't look at someone like a Verts and say, obviously I'd like Verts, I'm not saying that, but where do I want to invest? For me, it's not this £100 million creative force as an individual. It's the general attack.
Right. Interesting. Not sure if I agree or not.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I suppose what everyone's saying is we see the issues, well, everything they are, and how do you solve it? And for me,
I just think you're so well coached, and I know this feels reductive, and I get why people would roll their eyes at it, but I think, like I say, I almost think you need a couple of those players that go, right, we're doing everything right,
Mavericks,
and it's not really working for us. It doesn't need to be a maverick, just that individualism where. Yeah. They kind of have that bit more freedom. I think that's a big problem for Odegaard, where he's gone, I know what supposedly the right thing to do is. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you when you're there?
Yep.
What do you want to do? I think he gets the ball in those spaces sometimes, and he's thinking, what should I be doing? Not how am I interpreting what opportunities are available here? And I think you've got like I say, you've got all these diligent guys. I think you need someone with a bit of like spunk.
I heard that. Yeah,
that's for me. That's why I kind of go to those kind of players. And almost not an £100 million guy, but a guy who
knows Shirky for £35 million. Shirky for £35 million.
Oh my god! I mean, yeah. I mean, could that have? Can he come in and fit the group? That's probably the question when it comes to him. But yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just leaning on Nwaneri more, because I think he's got that. Bro. Like, he's exciting. But then to lean on 2 18-year-olds to win the league, did that be the difference? I mean, that would be poetically brilliant. But
yeah, it would be lovely. I think the individualism and the moment stuff. I think when we come to the forward group, I think I have a solution there.
Right, let's do it now then. So right wing, I'd like Saka to be in the squad. Is that okay with you?
James, you're known for these sensible football takes,
yeah,
and you're saying these things for clips. Come on, mate.
I mean, a huge loss last year. Like it's you wonder, but you sound like an idiot if you say that's the sort of one key difference. I think if you'd have said, I can take away all those injuries, but Saka's still injured, or sorry, you can take them away, but Saka's still injured, or we'll give you Saka, but the other ones continue to occur.
Yeah.
I think you got more points if you choose Saka.
Agree.
Yeah. Does he need a bit more help? Do people need? Is it right to say Arteta's got to be a bit more careful with him?
How many minutes has Salah and Fernandes and so on played? My position on this, which people don't like as an answer, is I don't know. And that's a very hard thing to say, is it because we're paid for our sort of
proof's in the pudding, isn't it?
Bro, I don't know. I don't know what conversations Tom Allen, the sports scientist guy, is saying to. I don't know what they're saying. All I can say is I look at Saka's minutes and I don't like, especially after this season, I don't think it's uncommon. It's not so much further ahead that I go, whoa.
Do you know what the answer here there is though? The answer is what you want is to have an option so it doesn't feel outrageously glaring. If
that's the main
what's
issue.
He doing on the bench?
That's the main issue.
That's what you want. You want a game where Saka doesn't play, where the camera every 2 minutes doesn't go to him on the bench.
Exactly.
That's what you want.
Exactly. It's a narrative thing.
So maybe maybe Waneri is just that player. But yeah, you link with Rodrigo. Thoughts?
Please.
Which side?
Left.
Left.
He can play right though, but he'll play left.
But that's the point though, isn't it? I guess
Yeah.
you want someone who can do both.
Yeah.
To give you some more possible answers.
I think Rodrigo can yeah, obviously he's played on the right foot. Look, Rodrigo, I think not only does it I was talking about this last night. I think basically, I'll try and really summarize this quickly. There's only a certain amount of ways top talents move, right? And the category A talent transfer, the best, let's say top 10 in their position in the world, is like Mbappe to Madrid, the best players are moving, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Arsenal are in those conversations. We're not, sorry, Arsenal fans, we're not, right? What we don't do enough of, though, is when top talents are moving in other contexts. When, let's say, Leroy Sané goes to Bayern. I'm not saying we should have signed Sané. I'm saying that's a type of transfer.
Sure.
It's like, okay, he's clearly good enough, but there's something going on. Maybe like the Sanchez deal that we did in 2014, like a player who is kind of at the level, but clearly moving on, or whatever. I think I counted it up. The sort of who was considered either going to be or is in the top 10 in their position in the world when we signed them. I think we've done like 5 in the last 20 seasons.
Yeah.
Rice, maybe Walcott at the time, something like that. Sanchez, like when you consider it in 2006, whatever it was. Sanchez, Ozil, because even like Ødegaard wasn't considered top 10 in his position when we signed him from Madrid.
Holy shit transfers.
The holy shit transfers is a better way of putting it. So yeah,
sorry, holy shit signings has better alliteration.
Sorry, there you go.
If we can go with that'd be great.
Those things, and again, it's about who we want to be. Our Man City doing 5 of those in 20 seasons? No. Our Real Madrid, I'm not going to bash the club. We've been through the Emirates change and we haven't necessarily had the money, whatever. We haven't been in the Champions League, whatever. But now is the time to, when top transfers are available, because we're not in the where's Jude going conversations. We're not in the Haaland conversations. So when a top talent might be available, we have to pounce. We have to.
Right.
We have to, because we've been locked out of those conversations for so long. So Rodrigo, I think, for me, is more of like yes, he can play out on the left. I think physically in the Premier League, we saw it with Miles Lewis-Skelly, you can get shoulder to shoulder and you can bounce him off a little bit.
Right.
If you get him inside on the dribble, the best of Raheem Sterling 2013, 14, 16, 17 on the inside times whatever.
Right.
That's what I think we get with Rodrigo. It's like that dribble, the technical ceiling of this Arsenal team, players who can do whatever they want with their football, needs to raise, and he does that for us.
Yeah. I mean, God, of course. And I think, you're right. There's a sort of, he's in traffic at Real Madrid. There's too many players knocking about, and it's one of those ones where, it's a bit like, say, an England squad sometimes where you go, oh, this guy should get more minutes. Or Jarrod Bowen should play more often. But then when it comes to it, you're not going to play Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah.
Like, I bloody love Jarrod Bowen. But sadly, it just is what it is, right? And I think that's the problem for Rodrigo. Oh, I mean, Rodrigo's obviously played a lot, right? But he's just never going to be Vinicius Jr. Or Mbappe.
The England things are good. Yeah. How has Vardy or Watkins only got that many? Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't matter. Like,
it doesn't. Yeah, but he's not really playing where he doesn't really suit the team.
Yeah.
It's Harry Kane. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think
exactly.
But I mean, that kind of in terms of him, Rodrigo being an option, because he has played a lot of minutes for Real Madrid, obviously.
The rumor from
how much?
70, 80. But I mean, I'd pay 90. Honestly, I it's not my money. It
is your money.
The rumor is that he's going to speak to Xabi Alonso and he wants to play on the left hand side. That's the reason. Again, whether that's agent talk or I don't know what that is. But if you look at, very crudely, if you look at the heat maps of Mbappe and Vinny Jr. and Jude, by the way, they're all on the left. Yeah. They're signing a left back, and they just signed that Mastantuono guy who's playing on the right. So yeah, if that's the kicker, he wants to play on the left. I think it's doable.
Yeah, and you're not PSG don't and PSG aren't going to get another one, are they?
Barcola's on the bench. That's another one that I look at again. Top transfer, a top talent who is in that echelon. That's the type of transfer. Where are Arsenal in those conversations? We have to be now.
The other one, we put him forward for one transfer, Leao.
Saw the data. Yeah.
I think he'd be great fun.
So the thing with Leao, every time you bring him up with Arsenal fans, because he's objectively, like, forget Arsenal. He's just like my type of player. You know, I'm sure you have players. You just go
yeah,
like,
right. Oh, that's
just
yours.
like,
Zubimendi's mine.
oh really?
Yeah, that's my kind of guy. Yeah.
So those like leggy, tall, athletic wingers who can just like who have that thing.
He did it the other night.
Oh,
it absolutely just destroyed them.
Yeah.
But I think with the reason with if you want to nitpick it too much, you go off the ball. You've got fucking Declan Rice. You've got all these lads there that are just incredible. So let the guy who's furthest forward, just let him chill. It'll be fine.
This is the funny thing, and this is what I was going to say.
Because he's got that. He's got that bit. He's got right. Well, we've passed it around for ages now. Nothing's really happening.
Yeah.
Rafa, off you go.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
This is the point I keep bringing up. Okay, I don't. To be honest, I watch him, but I don't. I'm not like on Y Scout looking at Leao all the time.
Yeah.
The thing people say out of possession around him, it's like, okay, but if there was one team who could deal with one player maybe being slightly less, and also it's the same thing with like Rashford or whatever. Like, oh, you worry about the character. He's a professional footballer who's got to this point and this level.
Yeah,
it can't be if your whole system dressing room falls over because of one person. That tells me something about your system, not that person.
Yeah, I agree. And also, he's still playing. Yeah. He still plays for all these. He didn't get wholeheartedly bombed out at AC Milan. Yeah. I don't know, and I think it's probably a deal to be sort of struck there for sure.
It's not my first pick, to be honest, but yeah, he's an option.
To the same point with the England squad, if you can get Rodrigo, you get Rodrigo, don't you? But I don't think. I think the fan base will be excited by Leao.
Yeah,
I think it could be really, really useful just to take players out of the game.
Yeah. The other name. So I just to come to this sort of. What are Arsenal missing? I think I just want to get really, really specific. So yeah, the pace is an issue. Height, we have one forward over 6 foot. That's an issue for us.
No.
Yeah, one forward. I think Saka might be exactly 6 foot.
But the team, they're all 6'2".
But in the forward group,
right,
everyone's shorter than 6 foot apart from Havertz. I think Saka's 6 foot exactly. The pace, the height. I think there's a presence that I'm missing, which maybe will come with the sort of the Maverick thing. As I say, about the running lines, about the tempo, about the channel running, about someone who can create separation in the box. There's a lot of like specific, I always call it like a skills gap. There's a real skills gap in the team. Benjamin Šeško is a name that people keep talking about, and absolutely, I don't want to go overboard on this because I think people go, oh, he's miles away. Well, hang on a minute, he's playing for RB Leipzig and he's done all right in a difficult year for them. The reason I believe that Šeško would come in, as long as it's alongside someone like a Rodrigo, a Šeško and Rodrigo is my pick of the summer. I would, if that can happen.
Right.
The reason I like that is Rodrigo comes in as your win now player. He's the player who takes that stress, whatever.
And so, sorry, in this team that you're building, Saka's on the right,
Šeško's through the middle, and Rodrigo's on the left.
Okay.
The reason I like Šeško is, and the analogy I come to is, the texture of the puzzle piece, the colour of the puzzle piece, the maturity of the puzzle piece concerns, or not concerns, but I think you'll get there. But it's not perfect.
Yeah.
The shape of the puzzle piece, physically, everything we need.
Yeah.
Can run channels, can poach in the box. The technique on this guy. There's a video I posted the other day, mate. Just go like his ability to manipulate the ball at speed in central zones, again, something we don't have. If you go through if you match up what specifically are Arsenal missing from their forward areas and what specifically does Šeško have, someone like a Gyökeres. So I'd say Gyökeres is sort of better in transition. Okay, that's fine. Arsenal do have a transition issue, but that's not going to be solved by, in my opinion, centre forward. It's about the pace of the ball, and I was dealing with, we have an issue with turning high turnovers into shots. That to me is much more about the midfielders making early decisions, runners, etc. Šeško will help with that. Arsenal aren't a transition team.
Right, fair.
Or let's say, for example, if Arsenal's issue
is, isn't that a string that you should be adding?
For sure. But I think it's solved in different ways.
Okay.
But let's say Arsenal's issue was getting the ball into the box. I think we have the most box touches in the league, or maybe even in Europe. That's not our issue. So we need a box presence. I think Šeško will grow into that.
Right.
When you marry up what Arsenal actually, the issues specifically that we have with what Šeško specifically is, it feels like not perfect, but it's really close as a match.
I think what's really difficult is the whole context of this, because it does feel like we're sort of chatting. You can't chat about Šeško without talking about Gyökeres. And so there's this kind of comparison for this signing that's going to be the missing piece, but you don't know if it's going to be. Yep. And whoever you sign, you're never going to know about the other one anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it leads me to, because I think there's a bit of Gyökeres bashing going on here.
Yep.
And I think understandably, the reason for that is I think Šeško is more exciting overall. And he's both the more exciting and sensible option, but crucially, he's the one it looks like you're getting.
Yes, but
I actually think, the more I thought about it, I think I might have said this last week, I think if you need to win next year, Gyökeres knows what he is about. And I appreciate the translation is a bit of a dangerous one from Portugal. But I think maybe his overall potential is not as high as Šeško's. I don't think it is. But right now, he is above him, in my opinion, right? But Šeško steps in, and with Arteta kind of coaching the bits that need coaching, it goes back to what I was saying about the England squad thing. You go, okay, here you go. Which one do you want? The more I think about it, the more I watch, even though it's more of a risk, Gyökeres is older and Šeško is younger with a higher ceiling. I have to take Šeško.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not sure it's right, and it might not work straight away.
Yes, yeah.
But I'd have to go Šeško.
And this is why I do it in conjunction with another signing. And this is why I like it. This is if you also sign Rodrigo, and then if we're not signing Rodrigo, say we're getting, I don't know, Nico Williams. I'm worried about Šeško as well, because those two together I worry about. But if you're signing Rodrigo, Arsenal will play football after 25, 26. It's going to happen. So we have to think about that. And again, it's marrying up. Am I saying that Gyökeres wouldn't score goals for Arsenal? Of course he would.
And if it didn't work and you get him, you could absolutely still win the league. Absolutely. Because I think both the competition and just having someone who's all about goals is just going to be so good for you.
Yeah.
And actually, just finally to chuck out there, don't sleep on Havertz here.
No.
I've got a funny feeling that, like, say you get Šeško, and I really like that idea where you've got Rodrigo as well, because now all of a sudden it's one of those almost, we look at the great Man City side, you go, oh my God, if I stop him, what about him?
Yeah.
It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Like with Arsenal, it's like Saka.
Yeah.
And a really functional team. Yeah. That's kind of it. Whereas, so if you can get those different guys in, I also think an angry Havertz is a I think that might be good for him mentally, where he goes, I get you're here, but like I'm going to try and buoy you a little bit here. And I could see him actually like catching fire a little bit.
And he might solve some of the running issues in the midfield, and I'm pretty sure he'll use him a little bit deeper as well. I've kind of sort of accidentally positioned myself as this like anti-Gyökeres guy. I'm not that at all. Gyökeres would score goals for Arsenal. Absolutely, obviously he would.
Go for it.
But again, it's like, I think Arsenal have a long way to go with. We have players like Bukayo Saka, even Martin Odegaard, who put these unbelievable balls into the back stick. I've never seen Gyökeres score a goal this head. Right. I still have not seen that happen. So when so Gyökeres would score goals on our transitions. I think he'd poach more goals. He'd obviously.
I bet for Coventry would, but like, obviously that's the previous work.
But again, it's what is this Arsenal team right now? What are Arsenal's issues right now?
Yeah.
Matching up that puzzle piece, for me, Šeško matches. And if you can combine it and take that pressure off, because Arsenal fans, ultimately, if we just sign Šeško, I'm telling you, I'll be on a ripple effect, and if you ever have me back in 9 months, going, James, it's all gone right. Because people will. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'm being
his first
defeatist, but
with his back to goal, sometimes his awareness is raw.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Again, one of the guys I work with, George, he sort of breaks it down perfectly. He's going for the ball first, rather that Miles thing where he sets himself and then he gets the ball. He goes for the ball first and then sort of thinks about setting himself. He just needs to flip that. But and again, I'm not saying Gyökeres isn't a good player. It's just, I think it's about really marrying up those two things. What do Arsenal need, and what is the player? Yeah,
and I think the thing that's pulling at you is like now, right at the start, we're like, now, come on, sort it out now.
Yeah.
But if you really if you maybe look at PSG and kind of take that and go, why? Why did what because for both of those games, like Arteta says, there's a lot of the kind of dominant stuff. But that PSG team is kind of undeniable. Like, it just had a bit too much star power. And I think that's the ingredient here that you kind of need. And I think, even like you say, there will be football after this season. And so even if you went into that next season, you've got a lad who's, how old is Šeško? Like
22 now.
Right.
Just turned 22.
He's got 6 years where you can kind of.
And Rodrigo's
stick by him.
24, 5, something like that.
That's crazy. Gabriel Jesus. Can I have some money, please?
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if I think about that group,
265k
right
a week.
now, Jesus would go, because I think Rodrigo could play both sides. If, again, it all comes back to it. It depends how you get there. I look at a big sale. I don't think we can do Jesus because of the injury. Martinelli, for me, people have spoken about this before. I'm not saying I want to sell Martinelli today, but if I'm saying who do I have in my team who would bang in a better system for him on much more open spaces, transitions and stuff, he would absolutely bang for teams like that. Who has upside? Who I think is 23, whatever it might be, is still there, has shown a big sample. Again, I go back and forth with people about this, and people are like, yeah, but if we just get him inside more, okay. Again, theoretically, you can platform everyone. If we just gave Havertz the ball constantly, he'd probably score more goals. Yeah. Is that the best thing for the team? Rodrigo represents a talent that I say, I want to platform you. I would sign someone to supplement you because I think you're that good. And I think again, back to the specific issues, our pace, shots, that's another thing with Šeško, shot volume, he takes more shots. Shots from outside the box as well, and that sort of finesse shot, the technical. Anyway, unbelievable. I could talk about Rodrigo all day. But it comes back to that. I think it's the attacking group. So I'd say Saka, if we can do this is my dream. Saka, Rodrigo, Šeško, Jesus you'll have to keep, but obviously, Havertz.
Yep.
Then as that fifth attacker, Jesus you kind of have to keep. So it's who that sixth is. It may well be that has to end up being Trossard over Martinelli because of the finances. And people will say, you're keeping Trossard over Martinelli. Yes, because he's the sixth attacker. Martinelli's too good to be our sixth attacker.
And his output is generally very strong. Trossard, I think. 10 goals, 10 assists last season.
It's also, sorry to go back, it's that impacting games thing as well. But to think about what your role is, if you're the sixth attacker, what's your job? It's to come on and change games. And
he's a great sub. He's a great sub, yeah. I agree with you. I think I'd be intrigued to see where Martinelli went, who would want him. Like what sort of level of team? Sorry?
Leipzig
straight
might be onto someone, yeah.
Really? Oh, interesting. Okay. So there we have our squad. So just to box it in. So Trossard, who are your two left? Trossard and Rodrigo.
I'll go Trossard and Rodrigo because I don't think Martinelli will.
Yeah. On the right,
be able to
Sanchez.
Right, Saka and
sorry, why did I say Sanchez? That's weird.
Well,
you're picking Jesus as yeah. And your middle are Havertz and Šeško. Interesting. Do you think you win the league next year? What does your gut say? Be honest.
My gut right now. I think we kind of. I will answer it. I will answer. As I said at the top, we have to look at ourselves. We have to spend a lot of time looking at ourselves and what our issues are. And I hope people don't think in the course if you got through this, and thank you.
Yeah, well done.
If you've got through that, I hope no one thinks I'm blaming. I could have mentioned injuries, and I'm not saying that. We have issues, but we're just not as far as anyone says. We're just not. We spend all this time talking about how we get there, but we are fundamentally not as far as we think. We had the most volume of injuries. We had Saka injured. Havertz, Gabriel, so many injuries.
Yeah.
We got to a Champions League semi-final and got pretty close, let's be honest, with Marino up top.
Yeah.
And Kivior.
Yeah.
We did all right. We did all right. So I just don't think it doesn't mean we have to let up, but we're not as far as we think. People will come back to it and people will blame Mikel, and that's fair enough, because I also think sometimes people try to admonish managers of responsibility when things are going wrong, and they say, well, look at the board or whatever. But hang on, if it was going right, we'd say, wow, Mikel's a genius. And it's not all him. It's the players and the board. They all had to take collective. You win as a team, you lose as a team. But I don't believe fundamentally that Mikel said last summer, I don't want a forward signing. I don't think he sat there in conversations with the Cronkies and I don't think he sat there in January. And in fact, he said it in press conferences. He talked about how good Isak is. He said, I've asked the board. We need support. We went into last season with 22 of 25 squad slots filled.
Right.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And that's not just Mikel. We can't reduce this down to the manager. The manager's not sat there saying, yeah, fine. Why don't we have 10 of them? Let's go out with 10. He's not saying that. The manager will always want more. So if he is supported, then basically it all comes back to whether you think Mikel can get through the season. And fundamentally, I do believe he's one of the best coaches in the world.
I also
think we can.
Yeah, and I think there's conversations, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's gone to Arteta to go, look, get through the season. I think you've got a squad that could give it a real go, but don't worry, we've got to be kind of maybe a bit more careful this summer. Next summer, we can go for it. And he might have said, yeah, all right, well, I'm not going anywhere anyway. And actually, I think this squad's really, really good. They're obviously all bought in. I think the players things need to fall for you. And I think the players need to, in those attacking areas, need to show up and show a bit more of their own personality. My question is, will he let them get him over the line?
Yep.
Like there's a dance there, isn't there? You've got to let them both fail and step up at times for them.
Yep.
That's the one thing when I look at Arsenal as opposed to other teams.
Yep.
Arsenal aren't that fun.
Nope.
And I think he needs to be, weirdly, that injection of fun and letting go at times will make it harder for the opposition to deal with them.
Which, to relay that, isn't that tempo, which we've spoken about? Isn't that running, which we've spoken about? Isn't that physicality, which we've spoken about? That fun, do you know what I mean? That's really...
pace of play is certainly one. I think freedom of choice.
Yeah, as well, speed of thought.
Yeah, because I think if you've now got the assets to where you're not going, we're probably a little bit light up top, but we know we've got this incredible guy on the right. Let's just get the ball to Saka. That's completely valid and correct.
Yeah.
But I think to get that final step over the line, you need a bit of luck, but you also need an array of options to get you over the line. And I think like the personnel and then just that touch of freedom will make a massive, massive difference, personally. Best of luck to you and to everyone, generally. Where can people find you, mate?
You can find me on The Different Knock on YouTube.
Alleyways,
hang around East London with Lawrence McKenna, and on the Canon podcast as well. I also, and I feel like I've said this before, but James is one of the nicest people in football. Remember that, people. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll clip that up. Are you saying...
You're saying...